All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving headfirst into a travel story that is absolutely pure comedy gold.
Ooh, I love those.
You know that feeling you get when a trip goes so hilariously wrong that it turns into like a legendary tale?
Yeah, like you can't wait to tell everybody about it.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay.
So our source material is an episode of the podcast Travel Fiascos.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and it's hosted by these three friends, Jenna and Carlos, and they are experts at turning travel nightmares into laugh-out-loud stories.
I'm all ears. Travel chaos always makes for a good story.
Right, especially when it's told with a healthy dose of humor.
Definitely.
And they definitely deliver on that.
Okay, let's hear it.
So just imagine this. They are trying to take a simple train ride from Barcelona to Madrid,
Okay, yeah.
which usually is a smooth and scenic experience.
Yeah.
But for this trio, it quickly devolved into a comedy of errors,
Oh, no.
starting with a near miss of their original train.
Oh, my.
Maya, bless her heart, was apparently struggling with a 50-pound bag.
50 pounds?
Yeah, so there was a frantic dash across the platform,
Oh, wow.
which the host described as trying to outrun a cheetah.
50 pounds for a train trip?
I know.
What does she have in there her whole life?
Right, maybe she brought her entire shoe collection or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it definitely added to the chaos.
Oh, yeah.
But the real trouble started when they finally boarded the next train.
Okay.
They thought they had their tickets sorted,
But
but it turns out they were playing a very risky game of ticket roulette.
what do you mean?
So Jenna had the first half of the ticket,
Okay.
Carlos had the second half,
Uh-huh.
and Maya was convinced she had a QR code, but it mysteriously vanished.
A 3-part ticket that is just asking for trouble.
Oh yeah, they were setting themselves up for a classic travel fiasco.
Yeah, for sure.
So picture this, the conductor comes along expecting to see a normal ticket, right?
Right.
Instead, he is presented with this Frankenstein's monster of ticket scraps,
Oh.
and the conductor was not amused.
What did he do?
Basically pointed to the door with the drama of a Shakespearean actor delivering a tragic monologue.
Oh, wow. A conductor with a flair for the dramatic.
I know!
Not what you want to encounter when you're in a tricky situation.
Not at all. And just when they think things can't get any worse out of nowhere, the Spanish police appear.
What?
Like poof. As if they were summoned by the conductor's dramatic finger pointing.
Okay, now that's where it gets interesting.
Right.
I mean, is this a common occurrence on Spanish trains?
I know it sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does.
So they describe being escorted off the train in this tiny random town,
Oh, no.
surrounded by more sheep than people, and a lone churro lady,
Oh, my
who
God.
probably wondered what in the world was going on.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Poor Maya. Her dreams of sipping sangria in a chic Madrid cafe were officially on hold.
Oh, that's rough.
I know, and it really highlights the reality that travel rarely goes exactly as planned. Sometimes you end up in unexpected places far from the tourist hotspots.
Yeah,
And it's those moments that often lead to the most memorable stories.
for sure.
But the story gets even better.
There's more.
Remember how Maya thought she had that QR code for her ticket?
Huh?
Well, it turns out she wasn't entirely tech-savvy.
Oh, no.
She was relying on Google Translate,
Google Translate can be a little iffy.
which, as we all know, can be a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
And in her attempts to find the bathroom,
Okay.
she ended up asking for bread repeatedly.
Wait, she accidentally asked for bread when she needed the bathroom?
Yes, much to the amusement of her friends and the confusion of the locals.
That's classic.
I know, right? She probably felt like she was stuck in a real-life sitcom.
I bet.
And you have to admit, there's something universally funny about those moments of lost in translation chaos.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the best. You know what's fascinating about this whole Google Translate debacle? It's a reminder that even in our hyper-connected world, with all our fancy translation apps and global communication tools, we're still susceptible to those hilarious misunderstandings that come from language differences.
Yeah, it's like a reminder of the beautiful complexity of human communication.
Exactly.
And I think we can all relate to that feeling of being lost in translation, whether we're traveling abroad or just trying to decipher a confusing text message.
Yeah,
You know, it's those moments when you realize that communication is more than just words.
right.
It's about context, cultural nuances, and sometimes a healthy dose of intuition.
Absolutely. And when those elements get lost in translation, well, that's when the real comedy begins.
For sure, but on a more serious note,
Yeah.
it does raise an important question.
Was that?
What happens when those communication breakdowns have more significant consequences?
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine if they had missed their train entirely because of a translation error.
Oh,
It
gosh.
wouldn't be so funny then, would it?
No, not at all.
It reminds us that while language barriers can lead to hilarious anecdotes,
Mm-hmm.
they can also create real challenges, especially when it comes to things like safety transportation and access to essential services.
For sure. And it underscores the importance of being prepared, patient, and maybe even a little bit resourceful when navigating those linguistic hurdles.
Speaking of resourceful, remember how those Travel Fiascos hosts turned their train predicament into a Western-themed skit?
Oh, yeah.
That's actually a brilliant way to cope with travel stress.
It really is. Their ability to laugh at themselves and find the humor in their situation is so valuable.
And it probably helped them bond as friends, too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they could have easily gotten angry and frustrated,
Yeah,
but instead they chose to embrace the absurdity of it all and turn it into a memorable story.
exactly. And it makes you think,
Yeah.
what other coping mechanisms can we learn from their experience?
Right, like for those times when we're feeling overwhelmed by travel chaos.
Definitely. That's a great question. And it's something we should all consider before our next trip.
For sure.
Because let's face it, travel rarely goes exactly as planned.
Never.
So what can we do to minimize the stress and maximize the fun when those inevitable hiccups occur?
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
Give me your best travel wisdom.
All right, well, first and foremost, I think it's about having the right mindset.
Okay.
Remember, you're on an adventure. Expect the unexpected. Embrace the detours. And don't let a few bumps in the road ruin your whole trip.
I love that it's like that saying, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Exactly. And speaking of the journey, let's not forget the importance of packing light.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if Maya hadn't been lugging around that 50-pound suitcase, maybe she wouldn't have missed the train in the first place.
Right. A little packing strategy can go a long way in preventing travel stress.
For sure.
But back to coping mechanisms.
Okay.
What about those times when things go really wrong?
Like what?
Like, say you lose your passport or get stuck in a foreign country with no money.
Oh, wow. Those are definitely worst-case scenarios.
Right.
But even in those situations, I think it's crucial to stay calm, assess the situation, and reach out for help.
Okay.
Remember, you're not alone. There are embassies, consulates, and all sorts of resources available to assist travelers in need.
That's reassuring to know.
It is.
But sometimes, even with the best preparation and mindset, we can still encounter those unexpected challenges that throw us off course.
Yeah,
And I think that's where the power of humor comes in.
absolutely. Humor can be a lifesaver in those moments.
Yeah.
It can help us diffuse tension, connect with others, and remind ourselves that even the most frustrating situations are temporary.
So we've got the right mindset, we've packed light, we know where to seek help if things go really wrong, and we're armed with a sense of humor.
Okay.
Anything else we should add to our travel survival kit?
Well, I think it's also essential to be culturally sensitive and respectful of local customs.
Okay.
Remember, you're a visitor in someone else's country. Be mindful of your surroundings, dress appropriately, and learn a few basic phrases in the local language.
Right.
It can go a long way in making your trip more enjoyable and meaningful.
Great advice. It's all about being a responsible and respectful traveler.
Exactly. But let's circle back to this train fiasco for a moment.
Okay.
There's another aspect we haven't discussed yet.
What's that?
The role of authority.
Oh, right.
Remember the conductor's dramatic reaction to their jumbled tickets.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's definitely interesting to consider. I mean, on one hand, you could argue that the conductor was just doing their job, enforcing the rules and maintaining order on the train.
Yeah, I can see that.
But on the other hand, their reaction seemed a bit over the top, wouldn't you say?
I think you're right. It highlights the power dynamics that often come into play in travel situations.
Yeah.
You know, we often find ourselves at the mercy of authority figures like conductors, customs officials, and even hotel staff. And those interactions can sometimes feel imbalanced, especially when we're in unfamiliar territory and unsure of the local customs.
Exactly. It's like we're automatically in a position of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And that can make us more susceptible to those power plays, whether intentional or not.
So how do we navigate those situations, especially when we're already dealing with the stress of a travel mishap?
Well, I think it's important to remember your rights as a traveler,
Okay.
but also to approach those interactions with respect and a level head.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask for clarification or explain your situation calmly.
Okay.
And if you encounter someone who's being unreasonable, don't hesitate to seek assistance from other staff members or even local authorities.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to feel powerless in those situations, but we do have options.
We do.
And sometimes a little assertiveness can go a long way in resolving a conflict.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's not forget the importance of perspective.
Okay.
As frustrating as it was for Jeremiah and Carlos to be kicked off that train, it ultimately led them to an unexpected adventure and a hilarious story to tell.
That's true.
And that brings us back to one of our key takeaways.
Which is?
Sometimes the most memorable travel experiences come from those moments of chaos and disruption.
It's like that quote, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Exactly. And I think that applies to travel as well.
I agree.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Hmm.
let's consider this.
Okay.
How can we learn to embrace those unplanned detours and turn them into opportunities for growth discovery and, yes, even laughter?
You know, it's funny how we often plan our trips with this idea of perfection in mind.
Yeah.
We meticulously craft itineraries, book the best hotels, dream of seamless travel experiences.
Right.
But what if just maybe those unexpected disruptions, those moments that threw our plans completely off course, are actually the secret ingredient to a truly unforgettable trip?
That's a really interesting thought.
Right.
I mean, think about it. If everything went exactly as planned, would we even have a story to tell? It's those unplanned adventures, those moments of chaos and serendipity that create the most vivid memories and really shape our perspectives in the end.
Totally. Who wants to hear about a perfectly predictable vacation where nothing exciting happened?
Right?
We went to the beach, we saw the sights, we ate some delicious food, and everything went smoothly.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the fun in that?
Exactly.
But a story about getting kicked off a train in rural Spain because of a 3-part ticket and a disappearing QR code.
Now that's a story.
Now that's something people will want to hear.
For sure.
It's those unexpected twists and turns that make a story worth telling, a trip worth remembering.
Totally.
It's about embracing the journey, not just the destination.
I love that.
And sometimes those unplanned detours lead us to hidden gems we never would have discovered otherwise.
Like what?
Like that churro lady in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows, maybe her churros were the best they'd ever tasted.
Really?
But it's not just about the external discoveries. I think these moments of travel chaos can also lead to some pretty profound internal discoveries.
Interesting.
They force us to step outside our comfort zones, adapt to new situations, confront our own limitations.
So true. It's in those moments of challenge that we often discover hidden strengths and resilience we didn't even know we had.
Exactly. We learn to think on our feet, problem solve creatively, and communicate across cultural barriers.
Such important skills.
And those are skills that translate far beyond the realm of travel.
Yeah.
They empowered us to navigate life's unexpected curveballs with more confidence and grace.
I couldn't agree more. It's like travel becomes this incredible training ground for resilience and adaptability.
Totally. And let's not forget the power of humor in all of this.
Oh, absolutely. As Jeremiah and Carlos demonstrated, finding the humor in a stressful situation can be a game changer.
For sure. It can help us reframe our perspective, diffuse tension, and create a sense of camaraderie even when things are falling apart.
It's like that shared laughter becomes a bonding experience, a way to connect with our travel companions, and create a positive memory out of what could have been a purely negative experience.
So the next time you find yourself facing a travel fiasco, whether it's a missed flight, a lost passport, or a hilarious communication breakdown, remember Jeremiah and Carlos?
Okay.
Take a deep breath. Find the humor in the situation, and maybe even strike a dramatic pose.
Love it.
You never know, it could be the start of your most unforgettable travel tale yet.
And if you're lucky, you might even get some churros out of it.
Always a bonus.
The best.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of train ticket trouble in Spain.
That was a good one.
We hope you enjoyed this hilarious and insightful journey.
Until next time.
Remember to embrace the chaos, find the humor,